everyone. I'm Nicole Boone. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. Today, my guest is Wanda Green. She is an author, and she's also the owner and founder of Lydia's Inspirational Gourmet Cookies. Wanda, it is so good to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Miss Nicole.
Well, it's my pleasure. We have a fun conversation ahead of us today. Your story is truly inspiring. You grew up in Sumter, South Carolina. You moved to
Yes.
Florence, South Carolina. You educated yourself, but then later in life, you went back to school and then you wrote
Yes.
Get Out of the Boat, all because of your story being an inspiration to others.
Yes.
Walk me through your life.
Oh my gosh, Miss Nicole, AM or PM.
Both, but quickly.
Miss Nicole, I tell my story because when I first graduated from high school, I didn't have any direction as to what I wanted to do because I was just an average student. And let me tell you, I heard what should I say, on the loudspeaker one day. I was at Sumter High School, and the guidance counselor said, "We have this college connection program at Morris College in Sumter, and pretty much it's a program that gives you insight about, the benefits of going to college." And I was saying to myself, "Oh, I've already completed 12 years. I don't want to go back to school another 4 years." But guess what? I had not a plan. And see, my mom is from the old school. As a matter of fact, my mom is 90 years young. And let me tell you, yeah. So my mom just gave me the best advice that she knew how. She said, "Wanda, you just need to get a job or get a trade." But you know what? When that announcement came, I said, "You know what? At the time, my brother was in the military and my sisters were in the healthcare field." I said, "You know what? Morris College is right across the street from where I live." I said, "You know what? I want to do something different." And guess what? I did.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yes.
So you got that degree and then you had some challenges in life.
Yes, yes. I graduated from high school in 1986, ended up going to Morris College, graduating with a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1990, and I was a social worker for many, many years. But guess what? I started having got sick. I got sick in my 17th year of social work. I was sick with a disease called sarcoidosis. And for a lot of people who don't know a lot about that disease, it doesn't have a cure for it. And a famous person who passed away with sarcoidosis was the comedian Bernie Mac. It's
Oh,
a lung disease, yeah, and it comes from out of nowhere. So I said, "You know what? I'm beautiful, I'm talented, and if I can't be a social worker anymore because of all the stress of, being a social worker, I'm just going to use one of my other many talents." And guess what? That's when I decided to move to another city. And let me tell you, people are so intrigued with this story because not only did I just move to another city and just moved into a big house and just went to graduate school, honey, let me tell you, when it was time for me to move to the new city, I didn't have a place to stay. God made provisions for me to stay with a total stranger while I worked for my Master of Arts degree in management and leadership. And at the age of 42 years old, I was 42 years old, I entered Webster University in Charleston, South Carolina. And at 44 years old, I walked across the stage with a Master's of Arts degree in management and leadership so I could start my new business career.
see, that's amazing. How inspiring to go back to school at such a later
Yes,
age and to have dealt with the health problems you had. So already you
yes.
you are inspiring us with that one step. So walk us through what happened next.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you, once I got to Charleston, South Carolina, just like I said, I got the master's degree, but I found jobs there, but I could not find a full-time job. So I said, "You know what?" I said, "I went to school to be an entrepreneur." As a matter of fact, my dad was an entrepreneur. Not only was he a break mason and he traveled from city to city, working on different projects. But guess what, y'all? When I was a child, people thought our backyard was a graveyard because
Okay.
my dad used to make tombstones and he had them all in the backyard. So when the customers would come, they would decide what type, what shape they wanted. I remember him having the pencil behind his head, and then they would tell him what inscription they wanted on the tombstones, and he would send it there. And so it's always been in my genes to be an entrepreneur. And my dad was always a talker, and I definitely take after him in the talking department. So I said, you know what? This is my time for me to step out on faith and to do what it is that God has caused me to do, to be an entrepreneur.
Is that when you started your cookie business?
I started my cookie business even before I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur. You see, I used to make the cookies. I started back in 1995 when I was a social worker 3 at DHEC. And instead of going to the department stores every year for Christmas and buying gifts, I said, you know what? I want to do something personable. So I
Sure.
started making these delicious peanut butter cookies, and I would put them in little tin containers and I would give them to my coworkers. And I won't forget, it was like yesterday, my friend named Doris, she said, girl, you need to sell these cookies. These cookies are good. And I said, no, Doris, I don't have time. I'm trying to save the world. I'm a social worker. I said, maybe later I'll do it. And then when I did graduate from graduate school, then the light went off. I said, okay, it's all about timing. So a couple of years ago, I started Lydia's Inspirational Gourmet Cookies. Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
they sound really good for sure. And of course, we can get those cookies on your Facebook page. And you can help people learn more about it that way as far as your cookies. But now I want to get to the part where we're talking about your book, Get Out of the Boat. Tell me
Yes.
about your book. And before we start, I want folks to know you can get it at wandagreenenterprises.com, 318-295-0190. I'll have that information in the description, or Amazon, or your Facebook page, Wanda Green. But tell me about this book.
Let me tell you, Miss Nicole, my book talks about challenges that I had with my finances, unhealthy relationships. And like I told you, I returned to school at the age of 42 after being out of undergrad after 20 years. But let me tell you, between jobs, when I did have some health issues and I did have to move to another town, I had some financial difficulties where at one time I was getting food stamps. I had to get unemployment. I had to deal with some discrimination. All of the stuff is in the book. And let me tell you, I started my social work career working at the shelter for battered women. Guess what, Nicole? I was in a relationship with a gentleman who was disrespectful to me physically and mentally, and I was working at the shelter at the same time. It's so often that we are helping other people and we put ourselves on the back burner. And I'm telling you, when people are reading this book, at least the women over 35, at first they tell you to have the demographics about, who you want to read the book. And I'm telling you, all the women over 35, it's like, Wanda, you owe me some money. You're telling my story. You must have had the same boyfriend I had.
Well, you don't realize how many people are going through the same thing, the struggles
Yes,
in their life. And when
yes,
you are in a community and you go, I'm not alone, but I
yes,
can overcome. I can
yes.
get out of the boat, right?
Yes, get out of the boat of despair. And I tell people this is a book of faith because in July of 2010 up into October of 2010, I prayed the same prayer as I was receiving unemployment. I said, Lord, where do you want me to go next? Lord, what do you want me to do next? And just as clear as I'm speaking to you, Nicole, in October of 2010, God told me to go to Charleston, South Carolina. And the voice was so loud, I got up and I sat up in the middle of my bed and I was like, God, Charleston, I don't know anybody in Charleston. And I go on and I tell my story about how God sent me to the Shiloh Seventh-day Adventist Church, which I'm a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He told me to go there in the middle of the day. I was in graduate school traveling 2 hours from Sumter, South Carolina, because I did not have a place to stay yet. And God said, I need for you to leave a little bit earlier. And he says, I need for you to go by the church. Now, this was a Thursday in the middle of the day. Nicole, I was knocking on the door of this church, and it was about 1 or 2 o'clock. I had just got finished spending my last $2 or $3 coming from the Taco Bell, and nobody was at the church. And I said, God, see here, you told me to come to the church in the middle of the day and nobody's here. And God directed me to go to the education building next door. And I did that. I turned the doorknob, the door was open, and there was a Sister Pat. She was sitting there. She was the women's ministries leader. And I told her the truth. I told her what my name was. I told her that I was in graduate school 1 day a week. And I said, God sent me here to this church today because I need some place to lay my head while I get my Master of Arts degree in management and leadership. And I moved in that $250,000 house with Sister Pat and her husband at the time, and they treated me like their own child from October of 2010 up until I graduated in May of 2013, in May of 2012. I graduated Mother's Day weekend, and I am still in contact with Sister Pat. I told her that it was a divine appointment. God allowed her to be there because she said that she had just gotten finished with a Bible study and she was just about to leave. And I tell people, when God tells you to move, he means for you to move now. And
Right.
I listened to the voice, and God made provisions for me to stay with this wonderful family, because guess what? He wanted me to get out of the boat of despair.
Well, your story is truly inspiring. You definitely are giving all your praise and glory to God. Your faith
Yes,
sustained you and gotten you out of difficult situations into better ones.
yes,
And here you are today with a book that is inspiring others, with a successful gourmet cookie business. And
yes,
I mean, the sky's the limit because you keep
yes, it
pushing
is.
your faith in the right direction and giving
Yes,
hope and believing it. And I think that's the key, Wanda. I think that's the
yes,
key.
yes,
Well, I have really enjoyed our conversation. We probably could talk for hours about your story, but
yes,
I know people will want to get your book and see all of that you have gone through so that they will be inspired. Again, folks can get out of the boat at wandagreenenterprises.com. Yeah, hold it up. Yeah, I was going to hope that
yes,
you had the book, and Wanda Green on Facebook. And you can get it on Amazon, but would love for you to go to wandagreenenterprises.com or give her a call at 318-295-0190. Folks, I will have all this information in the description, and you also can find more about her gourmet cookies as well in the
yes,
description. They call you Lovely Wanda, and now I know why.
yes, Miss Nicole. Yes.
Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me. I wish you continued success. Thank you for inspiring me today and being a part of my show. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
And thank you so much for what you do for our community as well. God bless you, Miss Nicole.
God bless you. Folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Conversations with Nicole. Until we see you again, we hope you have a great day.